don't have to take notes because everything I'm going to talk about is on that front or that topmost publication that's laid there. And we want to thank James and the government channel for being here. So hopefully folks that couldn't make it for the class at noon can still watch the show. So have any of y'all composted before?
I'm trying.
Okay. It's pretty common for it to sprout like what you're talking about, but we'll get into it. Well, okay, so what is composting? What do y'all think it is? When we talk composting, what do you think that word, or what does it mean to you?
Black gold. Well, our stuff, it just goes back to it's dirt to ashes and makes good dirt. Our foods that we throw away, that we put in the trash, we can compost with.
Okay. So for some folks, if you got critters, composting is using that manure. If you've got a bunch of vegetable scraps, it might mean putting that stuff out and letting it rot. All right. So, and that's the gist of it, is we're taking something that is usually some kind of organic material, and that can be leaves in the fall. It can be your grass clippings. It can even be weeds. We don't think about that, but we pull up weeds all the time and just chuck them to the side. You can compost those weeds, and that might actually be the best thing to do with them. Then you're still getting some benefit out of them. But it also includes food scraps. So it can be when you've peeled your potatoes, it can be when you've peeled your tomatoes or your apples or whatever. All those things would be your food scraps. But it's not every food scrap, right? Yes.
Do we need to make sure that the weeds have not gone to seed before we put them in, or does it get hot enough to kill those seeds?
It depends on your compost and how you treat it. If you let that heat build up inside it, it will get hot enough to kill it. But if I knew I had some kind of noxious weed, if I had pigweed, or if I had something that was thorny, or like cockle burr or something, I would just get rid of that. But I'm talking about like weeds that you pull up out of the garden that you just don't, like that hairy Galanzoga. Do y'all know that one? That little white flower that comes up in your garden every year and takes over. It always takes over my garden. Kind of fuzzy, the leaves are fuzzy on it. That's one that you could compost because it's going to be there anyway. I don't think you're going to add any more seed. But the
animal products like bones and meat and fat.
We're going to talk about all that. So the way that this all breaks down is because we've got microorganisms that feed on them, right? So they feed on those organic materials. They take up oxygen and they give off CO2 and heat. So don't be surprised if you see it steaming. I don't know if y'all have ever paid attention over here at Pine Mountain Lumber. A lot of times their mulch pile will have steam coming off of it, and it's because the microbes are breaking that wood down. That's an when I first came, that was one of the first big jobs I got, was to try to figure out a way to keep their mulch from catching fire, and it worked. They didn't have no more fires after that, or only when their water didn't get turned on. I can't help that. So why would we compost? Why are you all here? Why are you wanting to learn about composting?
Because it makes better plants.
Better plants, fertilize.
And just not let stuff go to waste. Yeah.
All right.
Keep stuff out of the landfill.
All those, perfect. Very good. So y'all have nailed every one of these. Nutrients to your plants. Are they giving fertilizer away?
No.
Nope. Last time I checked, it was a war price. So this is a cheap fertilizer that works really good. It builds up the soil. We get more fruitful plants. One thing that this doesn't mention is, have y'all ever burnt plants with fertilizer?
Yeah.
You'll never burn your plant with compost unless it's some ridiculously hot compost, like manure that you didn't really compost. All right. So, but very fruitful plants. It's going to save you on fertilizer. It's keeping the stuff out of the landfills, cheaper. And we didn't talk about this. When you put this in the garbage can and they have to haul it away, there's a percentage of that is gas. You know, you're paying them to haul that away, and so less air pollution. So there's 3 things that compost needs. It needs food, it needs oxygen, and it needs water. And if you neglect any one of these, the process does not work. All right? So, we'll start with the food first. And it kind of, you know, we've got the food pyramid they used to have, and then they went to the plate with the different colors on it for the different types of food we're supposed to be eating. So for compost, they've really got 2 different things. You've got browns and you've got greens. The browns are things that add bulk and carbon. And so this can be dry leaves in the fall. It can be cardboard. It can be old egg cartons, and I'm not talking about the styrofoam kind. You can't compost that. I'm talking about the paper ones. But newspapers, wood chips, wood ash, all those are considered to be the browns. On the wood ash, this is not coal. If you're burning coal, don't put that in your compost. It has to be wood ash.
Do we have to tear the newspaper into tiny pieces?
We're going to talk about that. The greens, the purpose of them is to add energy and moisture. And they're rich in nitrogen, and that kind of speeds the metabolism. So every now and then, if I've got a compost pile that I think is taking too long, I might throw a little fertilizer in it, but that's really a waste. The nitrogen just kind of helps keep the system going because they need that to work. So these are things like grass clippings and your vegetable trimmings, tea bags, coffee filters, dead flowers, and the weeds.
When do you know when it's finished, done its job?
We're going to get to that.
Okay. So is that
Y'all are asking all the right questions.
the coffee grounds also with coffee grounds?
Yeah. And that's got nitrogen in it. I know you've heard people talk about putting coffee filter or coffee out on your garden. It's because it's got nitrogen in it.
That. Does eggshells break down good?
Eggshells break down good, and that puts calcium in it. Okay.
I know my
So-
brother, he told me to say his eggshells. Well, we planted some tomatoes, and the way he done his, he fertilized them, and then he put toms down in the tomatoes,
Right?
and put that fertilizer on top of them and covered them up. He said that Tom gives it, whatever it is, calcium and milk. He said milk and eggshells, and I was like, you gotta be, I said, you're crazy. He said,
Yeah, that's all calcium, and that's the only time you'd want to do that is if you thought your soil was low in calcium, and mine at my house is not at all. But the reason why that would matter is for things like your tomatoes, for blossom end rot. If you've ever grabbed a tomato and it looked fine and then it was black on the underside, that's blossom end rot, and that's calcium deficiency. And that that is a problem when we have a dry spell and then suddenly we get a heavy rain. They can't take up enough calcium out of the ground, so they suck it out of the fruit, and that's what causes the rot. But if you add the calcium to your soil, or you water when it's dry so that they don't do that sudden growth. It's the sudden growth that causes that. So if you mulch around them so that they don't get real dry, it'll also help that. On the food for the compost, you need a certain ratio. So it's not just throw all your greens and all your browns together and hope that it works out. It really, for it to work really good, it needs to be about 3 parts brown and 1 part green. What most people do is they've got about 3 parts green and 1 part brown. And that's not enough bulk, and it ends up being a soupy, stinky, nasty mess. So you need that brown stuff in there. The way I do it at the house, I've got one of these composters, and we'll have wood shavings either for the dogs to bed in, or we'll have them for the chickens, for the chicken litter, and that provides the bulk, the brown that we need. And straw will do the same thing. If you've got old straw, like if you've used it for anything, for bedding or whatever, it'll work real good for that. Sawdust, if you have a neighbor that's got a sawmill or something, that'll work real good. So when you add the greens, you want to put the food scraps in particular in the middle of the pile to discourage pests. If it's fall time and you've got apples that you're peeling and you put those out there, you're going to attract yellow jackets. If it's this time of the year and they're out, everything's out looking for food, you might end up having birds in it, you might end up having bears in it, anything. So by burying it in the middle, it kind of cuts down on that a little bit. You can add animal manures, but you need to be careful, and it says it must be done safely. So the question is, how do you do it safely? We teach this in our produce best practices training, that it needs to be, if it doesn't reach a certain temperature, and the only way you know it's reached that temperature is to use a thermometer. And I doubt very seriously any of y'all are going to go out there and stick the thermometer into the middle of your compost and write it down and make sure that it maintained that temperature. So the safe thing is 120 days. All right. So if it's 120 days from when the fresh was added, that's enough time, according to the government and the powers that be, for it to no longer be dangerous. All right. So if you're going to add animal manure to your compost pile, that means you're not going to do anything with this compost pile to put it in the food supply for at least 120 days. So how many months is that?
Oh, 120 days. Yeah, okay.
All right.
So don't add to it for 120 days?
Don't add no more manure to it.
Manure separate then?
Yes. I'd keep the manure
20 days.
and then use it in the compost.
Okay.
Yep. Or do this and don't use the compost for 120 days and don't add any more manure to it. You know, you can't say, oh, well, that's compost anyway, I'm just going to add a little bit more.
Yeah.
No. Whenever the last manure was added, start counting at that point. All right? So, one of you asked earlier about the pieces. How big should the pieces be? They need to be somewhere around 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches, and that's to help speed the breakdown.
That's little.
Yeah, pretty small.
Sit for an hour and tear newspapers.
Right. Well, this is mostly the food scraps, but the newspaper, just shredding it would be good enough because that's pretty fine already. Sawdust is already going to be small. Straw is already small. But your food scraps, you want to make sure, like, it's better if you've got big watermelon rinds or cantaloupe pieces or something, that you cut those up a little bit.
Chop all that up. Probably then I shouldn't use the thicker cardboard because it'd take a while to cut all that up little. Just
I know what a lot of people do is they'll put the cardboard down, or they'll do this in layers and keep the pieces relatively small, but if you do it in layering, it'll help it'll help somewhat with getting it mixed up. If you leave those big chunks, it's hard to get it mixed up.
Right.
Okay, so what can you compost? And somebody said this earlier, so there are things you do not want to put in your compost. And meat and bones is one of the things you do not want to put in the compost. Rebecca?
What about all the chemicals that are in those papers, the newspapers, this ink and the chemicals that you don't even think about?
I don't know that anybody has ever told me that there's anything harmful in the ink of a newspaper. But after you start getting into other things like glossy paper, that's different. But as long as it's just a plain, like it's just like at the house, I know when I burn, I can burn regular newspaper and it's not a problem. But if I start putting the glossy ads in, it'll be blue and pink, and when that stuff's coming off, it's got stuff in it.
It's clay.
Yeah.
Coats that.
You hope it's clay.
I worked for a printer for a long time. That's what they tell you.
That's what yeah. You know what I was told in college was that Roundup was safe enough to drink.
Oh my.
I was told that. Yeah, don't believe all that. All right, so no meat and bones, no food that's been cooked in oil, no dairy, no recyclables that are like bioplastics and that kind of thing. Those would break down extremely slow. Some of these things interfere with the composting process. Some of them they tell you not to add because they attract varmints. There's a whole bunch of reasons. Some of them will become rancid before they break down, and you don't want any of that.
Do you just do the tea bags?
Just the tea bags.
Well, how about that? It's got a staple in it.
That staple's real small and it rusts out pretty fast.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about a staple in a tea bag. But those other things are all ones that you can use. And I'm sorry, that's
Grocery bags.
grocery bags, the old brown kind would work good. Obviously not the kind we use to line the garbage cans now.
That's plastic.
Okay, so we said that it needs food, and the second thing that we said that it needed is oxygen. So you have to treat this thing like it is an organism, and it needs to breathe. All right. If you don't breathe, if you don't let it breathe, what happens is it gives off a lot of CO2, and you end up with anaerobic instead of aerobic. Aerobic is the kind of breakdown that uses oxygen, and it doesn't stink. Anaerobic doesn't use oxygen, and it stinks to the hilt. All right. So if you ever try this, I don't think any of you said you'd ever done it before. If you try to do it and it starts stinking, it's because you're not turning it enough. All right.
So if we could just got them outside in the dirt and put stuff on them, we need to turn that with like a pitchfork.
Yes.
I did that.
Yeah, and there's a schedule to it. So you can use a simple bin. Some of the things you might see is people took pallets and just leaned pallets up, and this was one batch, and over here was another batch, and over here was another batch. So you didn't just keep, you might throw a bunch of stuff onto this one at first to get it going, but then when you have it to the top of the pallet or something, or 2/3 of the way to the top, stop putting stuff on this one and start adding it to the second one. But this one is the one you're going to start turning and letting it break down a lot. All right. So you want to move it, if you're using a pitchfork or a shovel, you want to move it from side to side and from the inside to the out. So it needs to be able to release the heat. It can get too hot in the middle if you don't turn it, and it will kill the microbes that you want to break it down. All right, so that's why you're turning it. You're letting it release that heat, and you're letting it get air. All right.
So on peeled potatoes, go round and around. So I should cut that up more.
That's probably good enough. If you do the round and round, they're so small anyway. You just don't want big chunks. You know, we talked about a watermelon or a cantaloupe, or you want them to be smaller than that.
Okay.
All right. So for the first month, you're going to turn this weekly, so every 7 days, and then every 2 to 4 weeks after that. So it kind of slows down.
You got a cabbage core, you need to cut that up?
Yes, that's too big. Now you had asked about, and we talked about the bad smells. That's an indication that there's not enough oxygen. Well, I'll get to your question next. I guess it's the next slide, Matilda. The third thing that it needs is water. And water is necessary for it to break down quickly. If it is dry, it will not break down. When we moved into where the house that we bought, there was a hemlock tree. And if y'all have ever had a hemlock tree, you know how dry it is under a hemlock. The branches all go away from the trunk of the tree, and it just seemed like it never did get really wet. It had to rain really hard before that had water under that tree. And whoever had been mowing the grass had been putting their grass clippings under that hemlock tree. And I guess it was just because it was convenient. There wasn't nothing else there. So they were piling them all up there. We moved in to that place in late November, and there were still green grass clippings there, and I knew it had not been mowed in at least 2 months, and maybe longer than that. And the pile was still that tall. So it needs water to break down. If it's dry, it won't work. So if you're adding dry things, like those fall leaves, it's going to need water added to it.
If you have to rake your grass, it's got too high, can you use that?
Oh yeah, that's great for it. And if it's even better if it was a little wet already, like if there was a dew on or something, and that green grass is going to be a little wet by itself. But as you're turning this, if you're finding dry patches in your compost pile, that's when you want to add water to it. So that's kind of what the picture's showing with the bucket of the guy pouring water on it. As you're getting into the dry part of your compost pile, add water to it. Food scraps, fresh plant parts, and coffee grounds already have their water in them. So they break down a lot faster. It's these dry things that are really slow. Now when we say adding water to it, it needs to be damp but not wet. If you were to take a handful of it and squeeze it, if you can squeeze water out of it and it's dripping, that's too wet. And again, if you get it like that, it's going to be low oxygen and it's going to start stinking. You don't want it to be sopping wet. You want it to just be damp. So as far as ways, options of doing this, you can either mound it up in a big pile off to the side of your garden or off to the side of your yard. You can use pallets. If you want to get fancy and build bins out of fencing or whatever, you can do that. You can buy tumblers like the one that's here. I've seen people build their own. They use these blue barrels, like the barrels you can get down at Fraser's or Tractor Supply, and you can put all thread through the middle of it, and you can build your own tumbler if you want to. And the reason why these are handy are you've got one side that you can be actively putting things in, and then when that's full, that one's got a clock on it, because that's basically telling you this is the one you're waiting on it to break down, and this is the one you're adding more stuff to now. But it allows you to kind of turn it a couple of times, and real easy, and it's mixing everything up. But you're going to empty this one side at a time. All right? So how do you know when it's time to empty it? Matilda asked that question earlier. How do you know when it's ready?
It looks dark and really rich, and you can tell it's mostly broken down.
That's it. You're not allowed to see my show before the program no more. You nailed it. It's dark and brown and crumbly, and it smells earthy. You hit every one of them.
Yeah, I had really good luck making compost, but it was really messy. I need a better way of going about it.
Okay. You might need a tumbler.
I think I do.
I like it. I mean, you pay more. You can build one for not too much. That, I think we gave $150 for it. Well, you can buy a lot of fertilizer for $150. The reason why we did it originally is because we had dogs, and you got to do something with all that. And if you just pile it up, you end up with a big pile of dog poo. But we could put it in that composter, and it didn't smell. And as long as we were adding wood chips and grass and stuff to it, when it got finished, we could put those around the apple trees or whatever, and it was ready-made fertilizer. So there's benefits to having something like that. I don't have to worry about critters.
Purchase, wouldn't you expect that to last a few years?
Oh yeah, we've had the one we've got. We've had it. I know we've had it over 4 years, and it's still. You would think that it would get brittle out in the sun. It's still. I can't tell that it's brittle or anything.
And you shouldn't put it in the shade, right? It needs.
I want it to be warm. I want it to be warm, and the black helps absorb the heat a little bit. And then if when I'm turning it, if it looks like it's dry in there, like if I add too many wood chips or something, I can take the hose over there when I'm spraying the lot out. I can just add a little water to it. And so I like the tumbler, but some people might say 150 is too much. So it's up to you. I know Brad's who went and got this. It would be hard to track this down locally. You probably would end up, if you wanted one, have to order it.
Shipping on top of those,
Yeah.
charges. So.
I know some of the online places who I won't name have that.
Brad, did you say you fill up one side completely and let it work, and then you start to fill up the other side?
Yes.
So that's actually a two-part.
It's a two-part thing.
Is it divided? Is it split down the middle and side?
It's split down the middle on the inside, and I know y'all, I'll turn it where you can see that. Can you see that wall?
So how do you move it over? Just empty it and then put it into the other side?
No, this is like one batch at a time. You're doing this batch and you're doing this batch. It's just that you're going to quit adding to this one. And all it's doing is just, it's along for the ride, and you're tumbling it. The only thing you're adding to that maybe is water. And how do you know when it's done? When half of its original volume is gone. So what you might be tempted to do is say, oh, there's more room in there to add more. Don't do that. So the tricky part might be emptying it, and all I would say is you turn it upside down and go back and forth and smack around on it, and it'll come out. It'll come out in chunks of kind of like that top picture. It might be a little clumpy, but not real bad.
Well, that's really a 2-for-1.
Yeah, it is. All right, so how do you use it? It's a great addition to any garden. It's really handy if you've got heavy soil. So if you've got clay type soils in your garden, this is a way that it kind of helps make those lighter and easier to work. I know the garden that I've got, after you get down about 3 inches in it, it's mostly clay, and I've added compost that the farmer's market got, or Grow Appalachia got. I've gotten manure off of Drew, which I'll tell you, when you get horse manure, there's issues with adding horse manure. You get weeds. A horse's stomach doesn't break those seeds down like a cow's stomach will. So you end up with a lot of, like I had no weeds like that in my garden until I brought that in. And I ended up with spiny amaranth, which is a pigweed with spines on it. And you think it's pigweed. Do y'all know what pigweed is? Or you do, you just don't know you do. It's got a red stem. It's got kind of rounded leaves, but it's got a red stem like poke. And it loves to grow in gardens, and hogs love it. So that's why it got that name pigweed. People would feed it to their hogs all the time. And you can rip it up no problem. If you get spiny amaranth, it looks just like pigweed, except it's got thorns like a rattlesnake's tooth. I mean, it will eat you up, even with gloves on. If you try to grab that, even with gloves, it'll spike you right through the glove. They're vicious. And so I'm just telling you that little story. It don't cost you no extra. Be careful what you bring into your gardens.
You know, my sister has some donkeys, some donkeys. And she always got hers from her fertilizer from her donkeys. And she puts it around her rose bushes and stuff. And she said they grow real big. And she said that's good for like fertilizer and flowers and gardens and everything.
It's good and rich, but I'm telling you that there's problems to it. And the problem is the weeds that their stomach don't break down.
Yeah.
So anyway, the compost, for it to break that down, it has to get up to a certain temperature to kill those seeds. And so just know that there's a possibility that can happen. But it makes your soils lighter and easier to work. If you've got something sandy, it helps them hold water a lot more. So I had raised beds at the house, and when I first built them, I filled them up with sand. And I thought, well, I'm just going to fertilize it, and I'm going to add a little bit of organic material to it, and it'll be good. Well, sand is a sorry thing to grow plants on. It drains good, which is why I used it, but it doesn't, drains good, doesn't hold water. Same thing, but two different perspectives. So if you want it to drain, yeah, it's great. But in the summertime, in July and August, it won't hold water. So if you're trying to grow lettuce in it, you'll end up with little bitty lettuce because it's starved out. There's no nutrients in that sand, and there's no water in that sand. If you add compost to it, it makes a huge difference. I added a bunch of that compost to them, and it grew like crazy. Just by getting rid of some of the sand and using the compost. So that's what it'll do for you. If you're going to do it, add 1 to 2 inches of compost to the top 4 to 6 inches of the raised bed and kind of stir it up. But it'll slowly release the nutrients in there, and you can also mulch landscape plants with it. So that's kind of what your sister was doing.
I put it on some tomatoes last year, and those things grew like kudzu on steroids.
Oh yeah.
That compost was the best stuff.
It's real good. I'm a huge fan. Questions?
I think you just answered one of my questions when you said that about the temperature. If we start now, it'll be end of August, first week of September when it's ready. That's
right.
4 months. So could we start a new batch and let it go through the winter, or is it going to be cold in the winter and it will never get?
Well, let me back up a little bit.
Where it cooks.
That time is only if you're adding manure.
Oh.
If you're not adding manure, then that you don't have that 120-day limit. So it's whenever it breaks it down, whenever half the volume's gone.
So when it gets full, I can quit and start on the second bin?
Right.
Okay. Let's just say I generate a lot of waste and I've got that full. I thought about keeping kitchen scraps in a bin in the freezer until I free up one end. Would they be too wet then if I got them out of the freezer and dumped them in there?
They wouldn't be too wet. I don't know that you'd want to take up that much space.
Well, I got a big freezer.
If you are adding water to this and you have added enough greens to your browns, that ratio, that won't take long in the summer.
What do you think, a month, 2 months?
I think a month would kill it. Now, in the wintertime, it's slow.
Okay.
Because it's a temperature thing.
Right.
You know, it breaks down real slow in the winter, but in the summertime, it'll be fast.
But it's possible to do
Oh, yeah.
year-round? Because
Yeah.
I would keep producing food scraps, and I'd be back where I started, not wanting to
You
put
can,
away.
you can do it year-round.
So just keep going.
Keep going.
I don't want to be crazy and have 2 of those, but
How often do you water it?
I water mine based on what it looks like when I tumble it. I slide the door open and have a look-see, and if it looks like it's a little dry, you know, because of what I'm adding, I'm not going to just reach in there and be squeezing around on it. But I look to see, does it look dry or not? And if it's looking too dry, I take the hose over there and run water into it and spin it around. Mine doesn't have the crank handle on it. It's got the little hand holds where you spin it by hand. But what else?
I love that.
Any more?
I had a question.
Okay.
We did wait.
Yeah, well, if you think of it.
Oh, okay, the people that make bread for the farmer's market, they have ducks. So how long would it take for duck manure? And could you put it on there straight without composting?
No manure on the garden without composting, period. They don't make a distinction on what kind of manure it is because the E. coli doesn't care what kind of manure it is. That's what you're trying to kill out. Yeah, I mean, you've got things in there that will make you sick or will make other people sick. So that's why you wait the 120 days.
And don't use cat litter.
And that's law. That's not just a general suggestion. That's the law.
Okay.
So, anything else? Brad, pick us a number. 5. Where's that sign-in sheet? Did everybody sign in?
Sign in.
I didn't sign
I didn't need to sign in.
I'll have you'll have to flip
I should
another.
have known because I always have to sign in, but
It's an insurance thing. I was outside talking about trees. Sorry.
You're fine.
I always have a million questions when
Maybe
I
you
come
need
over
to
here.
randomly number it.
Yeah. Let's see. How can we do this?
Hand it here and I will.
All right, Brad, pick us a number.
Go 4.
4?
Yep.
There you go, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, you just won something.
There's on here, after he gets done with his process, when you start out your compost, it tells you on here